welcome to the World Touring Car Championship 2015. We are here at a beautiful Vila in Portugal for rounds 15 and 16. We are down in the pit lane. We have got a little bit of a delay ahead of FP1. So let's have a little chat about this circuit. It's very, very exciting, and it's turning out that it's going to be throwing out an awful lot to our drivers, isn't it, Benny?
Yes, so we've got, this is the first time it's been used in FIA racing since the 1970s. It's a track that existed in 1931. That was the first time we had racing here in Vila, a slightly lengthened circuit. It was 7.1 kilometres at that time. It's a favourite circuit of Sir Stirling Moss. He's written and said that this is one of the places he loved racing. Many famous names in sports cars raced around here. The first 100-mile-an-hour lap around the 7.1 kilometre circuit was in a Porsche 917 in the 1970s. Now, in the 90s, they shortened the track to 4.7, which is basically what we've got here. But the circuit's been used as like a sprint circuit for the last couple of years, so it's not been used for FIA racing. The FIA looked at the track from last year, made a couple of changes, tightened up some of the corners to make sure the speeds are controlled, because one of the big things is it is absolutely rapid. It's so fast. And think Macau, but Macau's fast on the straights. This is fast through sweeping cambered corners. It is a huge challenge for the drivers and very exciting for them to drive.
And super duper fast, and they've thrown in a few very, very interesting chicanes. We've got two major chicanes, haven't we, on the track, that I have to say, when we did a track walk the other day, a lot of the drivers are a little bit anxious about it.
The chicanes are there to slow the cars down because the cars are going so fast and we need to try and control that speed. So understandably, the FIA asked for chicanes and tightening of the corners. They put it through a simulation because obviously these are street roads, these are roads that are used every day, so they can't have it pre-designed. There's no way of testing to see if it will work. And to be fair, they are very, very tight. They are single lane, they're very narrow, and there's no way for overtaking. And they're a bit clumsy as well. You can't really attack them because the way the curbs are, if you attack them too much, you'll end up just ripping the floor out. So they're not the best way. And in fact, if you talk to some of the FIA guys, they'll say next year, if we come back next year, we'll certainly change those chicanes because you learn from experience. But those are two very small parts of the track, very challenging. And that's where in FP0, we saw times from Michelis and Pachito. Pachito went 2 seconds faster on his last lap just by attacking those chicane, one at the top of the hill and then coming down to the bottom of the hill in sector 3, and he found 0.8 per sector just by attacking those chicanes. So there's a lot of time to be made up there, very much a challenge, but a bit clumsy to watch and a bit clumsy to look at.
But should make for a very exciting weekend. So there we go. We'll look ahead to FP1 very shortly, and meanwhile I'm going to go and have a little chat with Tiago.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Ben. Yes, as you can see, track is already live. The action started about 8:30 this morning, and they didn't finish until about 8:30 yesterday afternoon as well. This is a very big motor racing fiesta this weekend here in Vila. So in terms of geography, well, Ben's given you an idea of the circuit. In terms of where we are, essentially, we flew into Porto. So we're in northern Spain. Now, Porto, of course, is famous for port wine. And it is from where we are currently. Vila means royal city. It was founded by a king of Portugal in the 13th century. But we are in the Douro Valley, which is the valley where all the port wine is grown. So we are essentially east from Porto up the coast. And yesterday we drove up all the way through the mountains, cold, wet, damp, perfect for wine growing. And then you come over the top of the mountains and descend into the valley where Vila is. And this is what you find, that it is a real hotspot. Well, sitting alongside me, Matt Neal. And Matt, yesterday the temperatures were pretty reasonable, actually. 27, 28 degrees, didn't feel that hot. But the forecast for the weekend is that it'll be way up into the 30s, which is going to make it not just physically tough for the drivers, but also for the cars, and especially, you'd think, on a street circuit, above all else, for the tyres.
That's right, Martin. It's the whole package, really. But yeah, these cars are designed. They're designed to work in the really hot temperatures. You know, we see out in the Far East and in Macau. So, you know, they're up to it. It's only 20 degrees. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's only 20 degrees, but it feels much higher. That feels like it's creeping to the mid to high 20s already. But they're taping the cars up this morning, you know, having to run them a bit warmer, you know, because they're sort of predicting what it's going to be like in noon time, so later on in the day, when they're going to start looking for every bit of cooling they can in the car.
Of course, as Ben was saying, these are normal city streets, and as a result, we have got houses and cafes and buildings all the way around, so lots and lots of viewing points as well as the major grandstands, and that gives a real opportunity, as Alain Menu, who's helping coach Grégoire de Moustier. Let's get down to the pit lane and catch up with Alex, with Thiago Monteiro.
We've heard all about how exciting this circuit is. We've heard a little bit about the history, and now I'm down here with the man himself. This is a very exciting track. Tell us, from your opinion, how it is.
It is exciting. It's a big challenge, to be honest. I mean, for me, like everybody else, it was the first time here, and I've heard so many stories about this track, how difficult, how fast, how challenging it was, and I can tell you it's all true. I mean, it's really one of the ones that you know, the first few laps you're actually scared. You know, you have a lot of energy, a lot of adrenaline, a lot of pressure, and everything goes so fast. Not a lot of grip, very bumpy, difficult to remember exactly where you are at the beginning. So actually, we've only done 8-9 laps. I mean, it's not a lot. So it's really challenging, but that's the ones we like. I mean, this is really what we love, to discover new tracks and exciting tracks.
You talk about the pressure of the track. You've got a lot of fans here. Already now, there are lots and lots of people here. How does that affect you? How do you cope with the pressure of that?
That's okay. I mean, it's an added pressure, but it's a positive pressure, I think. To be honest, every time we race in Portugal, it's always very busy. Villarreal seems to be even busier than usual. The passion of the people around here in the north are amazing. I've been warned about it, and it's true that they are passionate. I mean, they love, of course, to have a Portuguese driver, and I feel this support, but they love the fact that the races are here, the WTCC comes here, and they're so excited, so they really show that to you, and with the flags all over the buildings, my name everywhere. I mean, it's really special. But, you know, once you get in our world, then it's another business, and I'm focused with my mechanics, my engineers, we do our own work. It's only when you get out of the car that things get a bit crazy. So you have to really separate both things.
You've had some great results in Portugal. You've won in Portimao, you've won in Estoril. Well, how do you think that the Honda is going to fare this weekend?
Yesterday we've tried many different things on the 3 different cars, and obviously Norby was very fast right away, so we're going to try and follow a little bit his setup direction to see if we can fight the Citroëns and the other competitors here. We don't know exactly how we will be in terms of performance compared to them. We will know very soon now. I mean, today's the day, really. So it's still a bit of an unknown how fast we can be compared to our competitors.
Great to talk to you, Thiago, and best of luck for the weekend.
In the background, you could just see Stuart McCrudden chatting with John Gentry, who's engineering the car, and Sebastian Loeb and Ivan Muller comparing notes here at Citroën. And as Thiago said, they had a very brief 30-minute session yesterday afternoon, well, yesterday lunchtime, in fact, yesterday morning, in which to get a first look at the track. And Matt, for all that, yeah, okay, you know, they're professional racing drivers, they learn tracks fast and everything else, the jeopardy here is really quite extreme. You know, if you get it wrong at Silverstone or you get it wrong at Spa, you run off maybe a bit of grass, maybe a bit of gravel or, you know, tarmac runoff area. Here, you run straight into a concrete wall, and that's the end of your session. So the jeopardy here is really very immediate. You have to approach this with a fairly large degree of caution.
Exactly right. I mean, it's new territory for all of them. We're coming here. The teams don't know the circuit. Oh, Gesundheit. Yeah. Oh, bless you. Yeah, the teams don't know the circuit for the setup, the car setup. The drivers don't know the circuit. It's new territory. It's been likened with the drivers to Macau. Yeah. Because the concrete walls are 100% unforgiving. So you make a big mistake, but it's such high speed where the car's drifting, so anything can happen. You know, you've got to be completely committed through some of these blind corners.
Yeah, and they are very quick indeed. Right, let's get back down to the pit lane and hear more thoughts on today's action.
Yeah, I'm with the championship leader, Pachito Lopez, coming into a street race. Now, Pachito, you prepare yourself pretty well for most of the tracks that can be simulated by doing many laps on the simulator, but how do you prepare for Villarreal?
Yeah, we do prepare a lot, my teammates as well. This one was a bit more tricky because we didn't know how it was going to be the layout, you know, in other tracks, when you go to Paul Ricard or the circuits, you know the layout, you've been there before, so you can correct it on the simulator to make it properly. So yeah, we did some simulation, but honestly it was completely different than what we found yesterday. Anyway, he helped to us, and of course you take your margins, you start slow and you start to grow up through the rounds, because it's a street circuit and a mistake can be very, very expensive. So it's a nice circuit, I liked it. Tricky, fast, dangerous, a bit of everything.
You were taking chunks out of your time yesterday in FP0. I think you found about 1.6 seconds on your last lap alone.
Yes, it was just about the tires. We put the new tires on, and you know, in this kind of circuit, when grip is not necessarily the best thing you find, when you put a proper rubber, you gain a lot. So of course you also get your marks, you are more confident, and I think it's going to be like this today. You know, the track is getting better. I think it's one of the tracks that we probably will improve the most from free practice 0 to qualifying.
Now, there was two trains of thought along the pit lane, especially when we were doing the track walk on Thursday. Half the drivers saying, this is ridiculous, this is stupid, this is too dangerous. For you seem to be frustrated by people saying, oh, this is silly. Do you enjoy this track?
No, I just, you know, some people it was really wondering about the pit exit, for example, you know, how dangerous it was. And then we have corners that is in 6th gear at 230 kilometers per hour. So, I mean, come on. You complain about a pit exit where you are 50 Ks, and you don't complain about a corner which is in 6th gear. So, I mean, we come into street circuit, we know street circuits are dangerous. It's not more dangerous than Macau, it's not more dangerous than Nürburgring. So, you know, in this sport, it's racing cars. We're not playing with the little things, you know, with the Barbie. We are motor racing. Of course, safety is something that we worried, but the FIA is doing the job, so we have to do our job on the car, and then there is another people that is working on that, and we are pretty pleased because the safety has been one very important thing for us.
So what do you do in free practice 1? What's the sort of the program, without telling us to be secret?
Try to don't hit the wall and try to keep working especially for the qualifying, to get a proper feeling on one flying lap.
Okay, have a good one.
Thank you all.
How refreshing is that? A racing driver who wants to race on tracks that are challenging rather than emasculating. And actually, do you know what, Matt? I think he probably speaks for almost every racing driver. That's the whole thing about driving cars, like riding horses, is controlling something on the edge of control. That's what it's about.
I'm going to remember that response. I'm not playing with a Barbie. That's great, isn't it? But it is completely unforgiving, and as it gets hotter, there are a lot of support races here this weekend, which are fantastic for the locals to watch. We're going to have a big crowd here this weekend. They reckon over 200,000 of the locals are going to be coming to watch these guys race this weekend. But as I said, there's a lot of support races, and they've been doing a very good job of throwing themselves at the walls and spewing oil out, and so that's going to make another scenario for these guys to cope with as the weekend goes on.
And the track will get more rubbered up, as you say. It'll get more oil and detritus down. But the significant difference in speed will be as the drivers start to become familiar with it. Then they'll start to really push, and we will see the cars getting 2, 3, maybe even 4 seconds a lap quicker than they currently are. Let's get down and hear from Rob Huff.
We've heard from Pachito about how exciting it is from his opinion, and someone who is no stranger to street circuits and someone who loves them is Rob Huff. So what's this track like from your opinion?
Yeah, it's really quick, Al. You know, it's really difficult out there because it's a street circuit and there's no room for error. So yesterday was just a case of get myself used to the track, feel where the bumps are, the curbs are, what parts of the track we can use and can't use, and yeah, just feel the car. But it's It's really quick out there. Obviously, we've got the 2 really tight chicanes, which make it really difficult as well. But, you know, we'll just push on a little bit more today and see if we can get this Lada a bit further up the grid.
When we went for the track walk the other day, some of the guys that I was speaking to, some are really excited by it, some are very nervous by it. Do you get excited by the challenge of it?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's difficult not to get, you know, pumped with adrenaline because of it. But at the same time, you've got to keep that under control because, you know, there is no room for error. And with adrenaline, obviously, comes excitement. And with excitement, you know, it's very easy to go a bit too far. And you can't get away with anything around here. If you touch any of the walls, you're going to destroy the car and possibly put yourself out for the rest of the day, even the weekend, which we've seen people do in the past. So you've got to keep a cool head. But at the same time, you've got to keep that adrenaline pumping to make yourself push that bit more. So I've got to get in now, but thank you.
Well, so that was a mid-sentence. Well, so the checker flag is out on the first race of the day. And I think Victor was in a Sierra Cosworth. There was a...
That's great, isn't it? Look, 9 o'clock in the morning, he's got his beer bottle in hand,
yeah,
watering the garden.
Absolutely. Well, listen, got to get the chores done. That beer's not going to drink itself, Matt.
Gabriele getting strapped in now to the Honda Civic.
View inside the Lada of Nicky Katzberg. Looks like Nicky and Jaap van Lagen. I don't think that Lada are in any rush to change their team for the rest of the season. Hopefully the Dutch guys will be in for the rest of the season because, first of all, it gives them the confidence that they can start to really explore the car a little bit more, and secondly, it gives the team that relationship. And, you know, when you're trying to develop a car on the hoof, as Lada are, your brand new car introduced at the first race, not before, but at the first race, you need all of that, you know, every little bit of
continuity.
Yeah, exactly.
Continuity is, I think, the word you're looking for.
That's
yeah,
exactly right. And that relationship that the drivers are starting to build up with the engineers now. You know, the engineers have to learn what exactly it is that the driver means when he tells them something. Not that it's hard to understand them, but just, you have to translate, because you and Flash will voice your opinion about a certain handling trait of a car in a slightly different manner, because you both drive it slightly differently, and therefore the handling trait comes at you in a slightly different manner. So then the engineers have to kind of piece the bits together from the puzzles and try and work out what works best for everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting just looking at some of the drivers getting ready. You know, they're all plugging their radios in, plugging their air-fed helmets in, which keeping the drivers cool, fresh. And you know, for the week, we've got a long weekend ahead of us, which is going to get, as you mentioned earlier, extremely hot out there. They're on about 35 degrees outside the car, even higher than that, which will see them up to temperatures. You know, these cars have to be sealed up tight. You can't run the windows down or anything like that. The aero is really, really critical. You know, they're going to see cabin temperatures in there of 60 degrees C, 60 degrees C, and that is immensely hot because you're in a still atmosphere. You've got no breeze onto you. So anything they can do to sort of increase the comfort or decrease the discomfort of the drivers, you know, to try and keep them fresh and focused for the races.
Do you know what? I would like to see a straight comparison with FP1 with the Citroens with the windows bolted up, and FP2 with windows out and door nets in, and see whether it makes even a 1/10 of a second difference in lap time. I think the driver cooling would be more important. Let's hear from Alain Menu down in the pits.
I know, a guy that we haven't spoken to for a few years. What a pleasure to have Alain Menu back in the paddock. Alain, what are you doing here this weekend?
I came for the sun. Well, I was asked by the team Bamboo and Greg de Moustier, their drivers, if I could maybe spare them some time and see if I can help Greg in his learning curve regarding front-wheel drive touring cars. So you know, I came, I did a test in the Castellet 2 days after the last race, and that went well. We got on well. So then they asked me if I could come to Portugal. So here I am.
So what can you offer a driver then, standing on a street track that obviously you've never driven before, unless you drove it in the 70s? But what would you do?
No, okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, this track is new for everyone, but then again, I know what it's like to go onto a track, an unknown track, and learn it. So I can share some of that experience, but it's mainly you know, looking at the data and see how Greg drives, and see if I can give him some tips as to maybe like things he could do different. Also talking to him about like the approach to like FP1, FP2 qualifying, things like that. But I mean, to be fair, I'm like still learning to work with him, learning about his personality. It's the same for him. I mean, the team, New Bamboo, I know them from the past, so that's fine. I've worked with English guys for many years. So yeah, basically it's just like to share my my experience, and I think so far it's going pretty well. I'm quite happy.
And what's your opinion of the championship since the TC1 regulations have come in? Because obviously that was when you left, so you had the chance to drive TC1 regulations, right?
Not quite. Yeah, I mean I did the first test with Citroën, but that's when they had an interim car, a rally car modified. So now the current spec I've not driven. I would love to. But no, I mean, it looks good. I mean, to be fair, again, you know, I've not watched all of the races, yes. I've not been watching all of them, but I did commentate for Eurosport France last year, 2 races, so 2 weekends. No, I mean, it's good. It's still a bit WTCC, you know, I love it. I mean, I did 8 years in it, and, you know, if I'm really honest, I would want to be back, and I'd like to be driving. That's my life. That's what I want to do. But it's interesting. I mean, obviously, Citroën is well ahead of the game. Maybe I think looks like they have an even bigger advantage than we used to have with the Chevrolet in the last 2 years of the Chevrolet Works program. So you know, but it's interesting, and it was good for me, like to meet you know, old mates, you know, from the past, old and younger ones. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be back.
And will we see you in a car in the future?
Like I said, I'd love to, but right now I would say it's unlikely. But you know, who knows?
Go and twist some arms.
I think it will take a bit more than that.
Thanks very much, Alan. Have a good weekend.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, needs to be pushing somebody down the stairs and, and then be ready to catch the drive as it falls. Yes.
Well, he's most certainly got reason to chase the sun now, living in Scotland, hasn't he?
Dear Lord, yes. Although, and always good to see him around because, you know, friends of the family. Always nice. Sebastian Loeb getting ready to head out on track, as everybody is. Session should start now at 9:30. And just a reminder, we are not on Central European time. We are on, I guess, Portuguese summertime, daylight saving here anyway, so we're an hour ahead of Greenwich Mean Time, not 2 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time, because the UK, Ireland, Portugal all share the same time zone. They're all on based around Greenwich Mean Time. Everything is, but yeah. So 3 minutes until the session gets underway. Everybody really champing at the bit, but again, it's a brief 30 minutes. You know, 30 minutes is always 30 minutes. However, when you're on a street circuit, I think you would like another 30 and then another 30 after that once this is finished. We're going to have FP1 now, FP2 at midday, or there or thereabouts at any rate, before we go into qualifying. And Matt, I mean, how do you find the balance? This is one of the difficult things, isn't it? Because it's very easy to just push a fraction too hard, too soon. You put the car in the wall, and suddenly there's an awful lot of work for the mechanics to do. You've learned nothing, and you've done a lot of damage to the car, but you somehow have to get up to speed before qualifying. So where's that balance? Where do you find the fine line?
Yeah, I mean, we've got 3 30-minute sessions. We had one yesterday, which was a bit of would have been an exploratory thing for the drivers and teams, finding out where they are on ratios. I mean, they'll do all the simulations and everything, but there's no substitute for getting on track, and they'll have all been driving well inside themselves, because obviously it's a long weekend ahead. And you know, it just showed when Lopez smacked in a time 2 seconds quicker on his last lap, because then you get, right, let's try and find the potential of the car, the tyres and everything. A lot of these sessions are also a little bit of housekeeping. You know, they'll be getting the cars ready, because the points come tomorrow, not today really, but okay, a little bit in Q3. But tomorrow's the important day, so they've got to make sure the tyres are all, you know, temperatured right, you know, and do they want to scrub them in to try and make them last longer in the races, you know, heat cycle them or whatever. A little bit of housekeeping, making sure all the brakes are perfect, the bias and all that, and they'll be setting everything up ready for tomorrow, ready for qualifying primarily, but then ready for tomorrow.
When you look at this circuit, those of you who remember Porto, where we have raced 3 times now in the World Touring Car Championship, will remember that being a tighter circuit, the circuit Boa Vista. This is a much more free-flowing track. The old track, in fact, about something like 2/3 of this lap actually is part of the old track. It used to then go across a bridge, over the River Douro, around through the far side of town, around the historic centre of Vila, and back over a bridge just to the north of where the current circuit is. So that must have been really quite fearsome. As Ben said, they raced here in the 1930s. You can imagine what the street architecture was then. I mean, there's video online of racing here, bike racing in the 80s. You know, guys like Jerry Dunlop, Barry Sheen, a whole host of really top-flight bike racers came here. And then it was cursory straw bale, even in the 80s, a cursory straw bale in front of a lamppost. I mean, this is an awful lot safer, but still the speeds are really right up there.
You can just see from the panning shots we're getting now, there's 3 to 4 key sections of this circuit which are incredibly fast, like eye-poppingly fast, and you're blind through them. It's a street circuit, and you've got a piece of concrete on the outside and inside, or Armco. You know, it's unforgiving, as they've all been hearing it. Here we are, we're off. So it's 9:30 on the dot. 30 minutes till 10 o'clock we got.
One thing you don't see from those TV pictures, boys, is just how cambered the circuit is. Almost all of those sweeping turns, especially up the hill, but also down the hill, are on camber and quite heavily cambered as well. So that increases the speed of these cars through the corner. I think there is one corner of the whole circuit that's off camber. Other than that, everything is helping, and there's no real crown in the road. It is just banked all the way through, left and then right. And you know, some of the guys are saying they're changing the setups fundamentally because the camber's helping the car around corners quite so much.
Yeah. So here we are coming up. This is corner 6. Essentially it's a roundabout, and they turn sharp right there with Pachito climbing through 7. And Matt, there's a long uphill climb here, and you know, it sort of plateaus and then it goes again, and plateaus and then goes again. So there's an awful lot of elevation change. And as Ben says, you can quite clearly see the way the road is banked, which will not only help normal traffic but help these guys as well.
Yeah, it's hard to get what's the word I'm looking for, the aspect of gradient change in the circuit. Here we go through one of the first really tight chicanes. I mean, this is almost stopping the car in first gear, but they're having to put them in because even with these slow chicanes in, they're getting up to maximum, you know, VMAX speed, and if they weren't in, you know, well, it would just be too fast altogether.
Well, that's one of the highest points of the circuit, and it's this long, fast downhill run which sort of ends at again another intersection way off down the hill. They would be quicker at the bottom of this hill than they are on any other straight in the championship, were it not for that coming down to first gear chicane at the top of the hill. And here is the final chicane, which sort of defends the run down again, still all downhill. I mean, we're on the side of a very steep valley here. The Douro is a long way below the town centre, and the elevation quite clear. So coming down to the final roundabout, we were talking about whether, a la peloton in the Tour de France, you are actually allowed to race either side of that. That would be quite entertaining for a good battle, coming wheel to wheel with somebody down there. One of you goes inside, one of you goes outside.
Yeah, you just see where that's they just passed before the chicane. What we're seeing here.
Somebody going straight on.
Or at least he missed those nasty sleeping policemen, because they will eat splitters for breakfast.
Yeah.
But the curbs they've installed on the chicanes are quite aggressive. But it's, you know, these guys are going to give them a proper pounding over the weekend. It's, you know, they're obviously man-made curbs, so they're bolted into the road. So it's going to be how long they last, whether they last the whole weekend, you know, because they're going to get a proper pounding.
And that's always part of the issue with a temporary circuit. And in fact, when they were racing here last year in the Portuguese Championship historic touring cars, those curbs weren't there on that corner. At corner 6, they were hugging the Armco all the way round. So those have again been introduced to make the corner sharper, more of an angle, and that reduces the exit speed there. And you know, we're talking yesterday about where potential overtaking might happen. I mean, this is a very, very quick track, so there's going to be a lot of time when you are following fast behind somebody and then you've got to try and make a move here down into that chicane, and that's going to be really tough.
Yeah, it was great to see that camera angle from Montero's splitter cam, because you can really see the dips and the rises and the crests the car are going over, and you know, here we go. It's fantastic to see this again, because as the car's going over the crest, the car unweights. Yeah. And obviously the driver's got less control of it, so you've got to be really committed to the corner before before you even turn in, before you even get there. So you can see how tight it's going to be and how difficult it's going to be for these guys to overtake.
Yeah, definitely. Gabriele Tarquini shoots by the chicane. Thiago goes by Mehdi Banani. In the race, incidentally, that just finished, we saw several drive-throughs awarded for disregard of track limits. Now, of course, that doesn't mean going outside the white line on the exit of a corner, as it would do maybe at Silverstone or anywhere else. What it means is going straight through the chicane. So if that's going to be the way that it is judged in the World Touring Car races, you're going to have to be very, very careful about where you brake. And if you pick up an advantage on somebody by straight lining one of those chicanes, you're going to have to give it that, because the drive-through penalty will certainly wreck any race that you might have had up to that stage.
That's a nice shot as well on Hugo Valent's car. We can test him how close he's getting to the limit on the edge of the walls.
Yeah, I wasn't entirely happy with that shot, actually. It made the walls feel a little too close for comfort, even sitting watching it on the TV monitor. And there is Rob Huff has outbraked himself, and that is again just the final chicane by the pit lane entrance. So Jose Maria Lopez.
This final chicane is going to be very confusing, because on track maps it is the last corner, except it's after the finish line. So actually it's the first corner. There's the finishing line, and then it's the first corner, but it is number 28 and 29 or something.
Or one, depending on how you're counting.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
Lopez currently lying in second, but he's got the hammer down for a quick lap. We just hope he doesn't come across any traffic, and we'll see the first benchmark set.
Yeah, he's on a proper decent lap. Sebastian Loeb is currently fastest, and then Nestor Girolami in the Honda in third. And this, for a guy who's not a regular part of the championship and doesn't know the car especially well, this is, on the one hand, quite a tough challenge, because he doesn't know the car especially well, and even those that do, as you can see, are making mistakes as Lopez goes fastest and Loeb locks up. But nobody knows the track, so in one way, he's sort of on level playing field with everybody else.
Yeah, I think that's why. Is that why they're cherry picking the events for him? Because it's obviously new territory for everybody this weekend.
I think it helps that there isn't an Argentine TC2000 race this weekend. Actually, I think that's sort of why those the events that he's been parachuted into have been chosen. I'm pretty sure Ricardo Rydell would be as happy to race here as anywhere else.
So that lap of Pachito's is 1.2 seconds faster than he did on new tyres yesterday. So that proves how much cleaner the track is. And also the fact he's got his eye in even more, and he's going to go even faster on this next lap, no doubt.
Yeah.
So Al said yesterday to me, oh, they're going to be sub 2 minute laps, aren't they? And I went, no, don't be so stupid. Sorry, Al, they are definitely going to be under sub 2 minutes when we go into qualify for sure.
Yeah. See, Ben, you don't... Great view from Pachito's car there again, as you said, Matt, about the way that the road leans you into the corners. And actually, for a bike racer, this, again, maybe not the mountain circuit at the TT, because that is an entirely different track to anything else. There's Pachito's fiancée Victoire watching from the pit lane. But this has all sorts of echoes of the TT or the not so much the Northwest 200, because that's much more open flying countryside. But this has a feel of the Isle of Man a little bit about it as well.
Yeah,
because of the speed.
We're just on about the times. There'll be, because each driver, they get allocated so many tyres for the race weekend. Only so many can be new tyres, and then the other percentage have to be what they call carryover tyres, which are tyres marked and used at previous meetings, and that's what they'll be using, because they're still finding their feet, finding their way around, which way it goes, testing the limits, and so they'll be using the old rubber at the moment. They won't be on the fresh rubber, which will find them boatloads of time as we go RNL testing the curves out.
Yeah. And the other thing, of course, is the confidence. You know, every time you go out, you know the circuit a little bit better, you feel a little bit more confident about where you can start to really push it. And, you know, an extra half an hour on track, when they go out in FP2, that's going to have made a big difference because it will all be fresh in their minds, whereas yesterday's lunchtime session isn't so much at the beginning of this session. So it's just building on that speed. And as much as putting new tyres on, having a bit more confidence, it's such a long lap as well and so fast, that's going to have as much of an effect probably as any amount of new rubber thrown at the car.
Yeah, they're just going back to the Citroens coming down the pit lane and their hazards flashing. It's not anything to do with the hazard lights or anything. It's a visual indication to the pits that they've got the pit lane speed limiter activated.
Yeah.
Want to do something similar, they do it with the headlights flashing, so it's just visual notification to the team.
Yeah.
Really good time again from Norbert Michelis. He really has clicked with his circuit. Yesterday in FP0 was right at the top of the timesheets. You see a little replay of Coronel there, and today it's Lopez and Michelis at the top of the timesheets as it was yesterday. So those three guys have really got a good feel of this track, whereas others are still learning. You know, we expect to see someone like Rob Huff right at the sharp end around street circuits, but yesterday the Larders were outside the top 10, and so far they are also outside the top 10. So maybe there is a little bit of setup work that needs to be done in the Larder team to get them up into a competitive position.
Yeah, Michelitz, I think, still thinks he's in his front room on his place. He's just Captain Bravery around these sort of places, isn't he?
Yeah, he speaks softly and he carries a big stick, doesn't he, when it comes in terms of pace. Norby always finds pace. He's very, very good at that. And again, you know, a level playing field where nobody has a track advantage in terms of setup or driver knowledge, working very well. He's only 2/10 behind Pechito. Sebastian Loeb's lap still third fastest. Qinghua Ma, another quick lap from him. You can see he's in fifth behind Thiago Monteiro in the number 18 car, and you see lots of Portuguese flags all over the buildings here. You see lots of Monteiro banners, lots of number 18 as well. And just see how tight that little chicane is. And the problem with the curb right at the apex there is if you hit it hard and it bounces you in the air, you're not landing on the track, you're landing in the wall that you're heading straight at, because you will stop any retardation and any steering effect as soon as you take off. And that is going to be the major hazard at that particular chicane. If you don't get the speed off, you are going straight on into the wall. Turning left at the roundabout and dropping down quite a steep hill into the pit lane.
Past the bars and the shops.
Yeah.
Pick up an ice cream on the way.
Pick up an ice cream and pet supplies as well.
So Lopez is he's about half a second clear of the field at the moment, which is his usual place, except Michelitz.
Yeah, apart from Norby.
Which was a terrific time for Norby in his Civic. So those two, they're very committed at the moment. Here's Huffy.
I was going by Ugo earlier on. Ugo didn't run particularly wide, but was just slowing down to let somebody go through and get a quick lap. And actually, Matt, you know, being a gentleman out on the track, it's like earning your spurs in the peloton again in the Tour de France. You play the game the way it should be played, and people will give you the room. If you end up either not paying attention or possibly, you know, rather deliberately getting in the way, then you will find it very hard to find your own qualifying lap.
Yep, I mean, a lot of these drivers, it's a big circus. They go round and round and round, you know, all around the world, and there is a case of, I mean, it's so close and so physical the racing is. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You have me over, it's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
If not this weekend, you know, you get the likes of Gabrielli, and they remember forever. You know,
I was saying to Alain Menu last night about memories, and I said, I guarantee that Gabrielli has not forgotten sometime you did something to him at Thruxton in the 80s or wherever it happens. Yeah, no, absolutely. And beneficially or otherwise. Now, if you wonder why Nestor Girolami was stopping just there, he's in the box that you can do a standing start in, and Gabriele Tarquini doing the same.
Yeah, they'll be testing the biting pointers on the clutches. Just obviously, it's it's still pretty new. I mean, Girolami still has not had a lot of time in this car, so it's still a big learning thing for him altogether. And he did terrifically well in his first time out.
Yep.
In Slovakia, so it's, but he still wants every bit of lap, every bit of time he can get. And one of the hardest parts of driving one of these cars is actually getting them away quickly. It's like trying to do a racing start in your road car in the 3rd or 4th gear. You can see they've got to get the right amount of wheel spin, not too much, not to burn the tyres up, but just to try and get the power down, get the traction, and get it away quickly. Because they'll be doing probably just sub 4 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometres, so that's 0 to 60.
Yeah. And of course, it's hard to win a race anywhere other than the start. It's very easy to lose a race as well at the start, especially to your teammates. And when you saw Ivan Muller there, that, you know, that's going to be one of the key things for him, is not only to qualify well, but then to use that race 1 grid position.
Well, on a circuit like this, it is going to be tough for him to overtake. You know, the standing start is the biggest opportunity to either gain or lose positions in the race. So it's going to be a hypercritical part of it.
And that start is going to be very, very interesting to watch, because they'll be jetting down from the start finishing line all the way through to about turn 4, where the first real braking zone is. There's a sort of a feather going into 2 and 3, but turn 4 is where you hit the brakes hard, which is where Demoustier is not now. Just glance at the screen, but there is no braking zone, so you're going to be side by side in that pack all the way down for almost a kilometre before you hit the brakes, and I don't know how that's going to work out, really, especially with barriers so close.
It's going to be entertaining, that's absolutely for certain.
That's right, Ben, and one of the other things is these cars are very dependent on the aero now, so running nose to tail, which touring cars do, they're going to lose a bit of downforce, or a lot of downforce in the quick stuff. Ooh, Demoustier just having a look after those tyres, champ. Yeah. Losing a lot of downforce, and also the heat of the engines. You know, if you're going to be north of 35 degrees, these engines are going to be wanting to suck as much cold air into them. Oh,
Nesta Girolami has skated off, and that is the final roundabout.
Those wheels pointing the right way, or is that just steering? Let's hope it's not.
He's backing it up. Look, there's not even a mark on the barrier. You can see the tyre marks. Now, whether they're his or whether he followed somebody else's marks in, no, they are his, because they stopped just shy of those barriers.
Yeah, there's, I like everyone else. We look at these guys in race cars, and they've nosed it into the here we go. Oh, locked up 4 wheels. He got away with that, didn't he?
Just,
but
yeah, 5 inches.
You think, oh, just flick it in reverse, spin it out, and you're all right. But it's very difficult to find reverse gear in these, because they're sequential boxes. So you've got to come all the way down through the gearbox. Then you've got to flick it into neutral. Then you've got a system to get it into reverse after that. And they are pigs to get into reverse. So and then you've got to get it out of reverse.
Yeah. Well, you see a lot of the cars have that little sort of bicycle brake lever thing on the gear shift, and that's to allow, well, that's a lockout that you have to neutralise before you can push it down into reverse.
It's a race car. They're not designed to go backwards.
Yeah.
Well, not intentionally anyway.
No,
but it's there as a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah.
Loeb's looks pretty committed this lap.
Yes, he does.
Just looking at his sectors.
Yves Maton there, the boss of Citroën Racing, very...
fastest front sector for him.
Somebody poked him with a stick, didn't they, and got some good quotes out of him regarding World Rally, Sebastian Loeb, Chris Meek, all sorts of opinion.
Yeah, because they got more out of him than we've had all year.
Yeah, they properly poked him. And so you know, his opinion is that World Rally needs Sebastian Loeb to stop Sebastian Ogier winning everything, because Volkswagen are starting to have it all their own way. Well, you know, where's the mileage for Loeb going back to World Rallying? What's he going to do? He's going to win a 10th championship or not win the championship? You know, if he wins another championship, everybody go, yeah, well, of course he's won another championship. He's Sebastian Loeb. And if he doesn't, then, oh, well, you know, I remember when he was great. It's a hiding to nothing, really, isn't it? I don't see the mileage for Loeb. And if he doesn't go and do an entire championship, then what would be the point? Because Ogier is only going to win the rallies that he doesn't do. And Dakar, though.
Well,
he's got the Dakar beat in his bonnet, hasn't he?
That looked a bit twitchy through there of Mar, but Loeb, I mean, he's trying on. He's just popped in. He's only a tenth shy of Lopez now, so he's down there. But he did look as though he's pressing on. It looks as though he had a lot of understeer in that middle sector, which is going to be really, they're going to watch, because tyre degradation is going to be key this weekend, especially, I go on about the aero again and the temperature of the track and the tyre. So it's going to be key factors for the teams to monitor and the drivers to monitor and react to, and just try and manage as the races go on.
There's all sorts of different factors when you come to a track that nobody has any knowledge of, and nobody has any knowledge of this whatsoever, from what compound the road surface is, to how hot it's going to be, to what the camber is going to do, I mean, nothing. And there's choices to be made about how you start your suspension setup and what damper settings and diff settings and all of the other stuff. That you can sort of change fairly easily. Tom Coronel has had a little brush, or has he picked up a puncture? No, or has he just nudged that wheel liner loose?
Yeah, it might be he's in a wheel arch. But if the tyres delaminated or something, he could have ripped and...
it looks like he's just bumped it into something. Gently.
Suspension could have collapsed off one of these curves. I mean, the curves are pretty brutal. Yeah. They are attacking, and he was giving him a fair smashing earlier.
Although the splitter looks completely level, so I don't think this suspension has collapsed. I think actually what's probably happened is the wheel arch liner has come loose and is now just rubbing on the tyre.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
But one of the major factors that these cars have is they have a gear set choice. Essentially, you homologate two sets of gears, one for shorter circuits and one for longer circuits. So you'll have your Thruxton gearing, if you like, from British Touring Car Championship, that you wouldn't use anywhere else because it's just so long and fast. And if you've got the wrong gear set in here, then you're never going to be quite where you need to be in terms of being on the power. So, all those factors have to be worked on and thought of.
Yeah, and that, I mean, having the correct ratios set in can make a massive difference.
Whoa!
That is pretty committed.
Great view. That's the final roundabout that guards the pit lane.
I'm not sure whether that was lucky or just pure skill. To get away with that.
He didn't hit anything, therefore it was skill.
Yeah.
If he had hit it, it would have been
in
unlucky.
A qualifying lap that would have cost him, because it's scrub speed for the exit of the corner. But it was he's definitely exploring the limits now.
He was fastest in the first sector on that lap, so that was a pushing hard on lap.
These cars, they are sliding around a lot, aren't they? Loeb was, and I just thought he was sort of overdriving it a wee bit, but
I don't think Loeb overdrives, definitely, but Pachito carrying a lot of speed in there.
Right.
It cost him 1.7 seconds, in fact, that mistake. Ben.
Martin, down at Tom Coronel's car, not a puncture. The wheel is slightly damaged, but it's not deflated. As you say, the wheel arch has come loose, and I think he has tapped the barrier on the left front, because the bumper looks slightly damaged, and that's then ripped out the inner lining. So I don't think he needs to finish this session, but certainly the inner lining is no longer there where it should be.
Yeah, it looked like he just, as you were saying, it looked like that left front bumper wasn't quite attached to the bodywork the way it should have been, or the rest of the body the way it should have been, and so that's probably just what's popped the fasteners for that wheel arch liner. Why have they got a wheel arch liner? It's for aerodynamics. It tidies up the airflow through the underbody area, through the underbonnet area as well. So it's not just good in the wind tunnel, it's also good for underbonnet cooling. So they've been neatly designed to try and channel air around and about. And you see similar effect on all the cars, trying to get rid of the extreme underbonnet heat that these turbocharged engines generate. The turbo running somewhere close to 800, 900 degrees, there's an awful lot of temperature to get rid of, and you can't do it just with cooling radiators. You've got to have airflow through under the bonnet. Mr. Girolami appears to have selected top gear quite early in the lap there, and having a bit of a cruise around. As Qinghua Ma comes to the start line box. You can see how much rubber is down at that chicane. It's a tightening downhill left-hander, don't cut braking area, and a lot of these braking areas, the car's picking up the unladen inside rear wheel mat and leaving a lot of rubber on the road as a result.
Yeah, you've got to have a fair bit of trust in your fellow competitors. You know, when they'll show you the inside, and you've got to have a belief that they're not going to turn in.
Yeah.
It's fairly confusing actually when you get to some of these chicanes, because they've got escape roads off down, and you've got to pick your points. They've got escape roads left and right, as well as, and it's not always obvious the way you want to go, and especially when you arrive there completely blind and potentially in traffic following another vehicle.
We talked about gear ratios a little bit earlier before Coronel came into the pits. I'm wondering whether Lada might have gone the wrong direction, because there's nothing coming from Huffy or Katzberg or Van Lagen outside the top 10 still. And what are they? Nearly 2 seconds off the ultimate pace. Normally, in a street circuit, the driver makes the difference, and we know that Huffy can really find time where others can't, especially around places like Macau, but there's just nothing coming from any of the Ladas right now.
Yeah, and I was thinking again, almost finished my thought and then got distracted by something that happened. Even had they arrived here with a much too long gear set, or possibly a much too short gear set that meant they were always on the limiter, they've had overnight to change it where the cars have not been in parc fermé. So, I mean, you know, you can, if you have to drop the box and take the gearbox out and put in a gearbox with another cluster in, or change the cluster, then there's more than enough time to have done that. So it can't be that the gear ratios aren't right still, can it? Unless they didn't bring the other sets of gear ratios. But then the trucks have been travelling all around Europe with everything in, and I can't imagine why they wouldn't be.
Yeah, I think the last time some of these guys actually went back to Russia was the New Year.
March, yes. Or, yeah, exactly so.
So they've been pretty full on through the season. They'll get a nice little break now for the summer break. But,
yes, go home to see whether the family have moved house while you've been away, and whether the dog savages you when you come in the front door. But you're absolutely right. But you see, again, because the car's have been...
They've got a dog? How long have we had a dog?
Because the cars have been in these trucks travelling around Europe for so long, I'm sure that their mobile workshops, basically, they've got everything in that you can possibly...
Michelets is all get out of the way. Let's... he's on a good lap here. Now, but I guess we don't know what rubber he's on just at the moment, so...
No.
But he's needs Girolami to get out of the way for him.
And John Philippi. Girolami does.
At the last minute, that's going to cost him time, though.
Yeah, but it was the only place he could do, really.
He could have kept it lit, gone straight through, and then let him through. Unfortunately, I think that's going to cost Norby his middle sector.
Yeah.
But it shows he's got good pace in the car in the front sector.
Personal
best. With the Citroens.
Personal best for Jaap van Lagen as well, who's not even... in fact, he's not on our timing screen. Why is he not on our timing screen?
Yeah, he's 15.
Why can I not see
46.
There we go. Idiot.
But, you know... yeah, OK, Huffy's the benchmark in the Ladas, and he's languishing in 11th at the moment, but, you know, Katzberg and Van Lagen have been doing a cracking job, to be fair to him, but, you know, on today's form so far, or this weekend's form so far, why is Tomo not in the car anymore? Yeah, is a big question.
Yeah. Well, we've said that before. Basically, when Tomo was in the car, only one car usually, if any, made it to the end of the race. Now they're in a position where the car is stronger and more reliable. And yeah, I agree. I think Tomo would be getting time and speed out of it now, purely because it actually stays together a little longer than it did. Ivan Muller, currently 7th. Better lap from him, but look, first sector 3/10 away from Lopez. And 3/10 away, wouldn't see him in the top 3 at the moment at the end of the lap, never mind at the beginning of the lap.
Oh, that is quick through there. That is super, super quick. Oh. That is very committed.
But without that chicane, how fast would this right-hander that he's just come through, the approach to that would be very, very substantial.
You know what I liken it to? Or, you know, without the chicanes, it'd be like the old Hockenheim.
Yeah.
And you had to put them in. They had to put them in.
Yeah.
Just because it would have got ridiculous.
So
even with the chicanes in, tell you what, they're clonking on.
Yeah.
They are, you know, a lot of the drive, because the drivers are sat so far back inside the low down.
Hello.
Oh,
Look, he's gone from 7/10 back at the end of sector 2 to bang in the fastest lap.
That's a good, because the key sector is sector 2 normally. That's where a lot of it's won and lost.
And he's still lit as well. He's going for another one.
But he didn't do any ultimate fastest sectors. It was green. It wasn't purple.
No, that's absolutely right. It wasn't faster. Well, the final sector was the fastest.
Of his, but not of, because Loeb is actually fastest man through the final sector.
Yes, you're right. It didn't go pink until the end of the lap. Exactly right.
Just shows you, Ben, it's the complete package, isn't it?
Ben, go and ask Alex why that might be, because I'm at a loss. After you, Claude. Tom Chilton and Gabriele Tarquini. Gabriele was gesticulating there to Tom in an Italianate manner, suggesting that Gabriele had been caught out by Tom being earlier on the brakes than he was expecting. There's the brake lights on.
I think probably Tom just didn't see him coming.
Yeah.
Not in his mirrors.
That will bring the session to an end. It was right on the end of the time. So Gabriele with damage to the car.
He's brought back his...
Gabriele's Christmas card list just got one name shorter.
Yeah, his old lucky Stuart McCrudden. Not looking too tough. Stuart, that's probably about the exact face for him.
Oh dear. that was perfectly summed it up.
Yeah, he's on a quick lap. He's come out around a blind corner. Tom's there, just cruising around.
Yep.
Thinking about what he's going to do with the car when he gets it back to the box, and now it's going to be how they're going to repair the car when they get it back to the box.
Well, actually, Tom's car hasn't really even damaged the bumper, although he does seem to have a history of having the exhaust bent a lot. Gabriele, not so thrilled with that.
His traditional Spider-Man helmet, which he moved away from a wee bit, and he brought it back for luck. But
he's got the red, white, and green flames on it. Well, he's got a little bit of 3D-ishness going on around the spider web as well.
I think that's probably superficial on Gabriele. It's more Gabriele's car. They just get the bumper. It's more of a wrap.
It's cosmetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's the worry is that it's sort of done mounting points and stuff, and you then have to go and put another 20 grand's worth of carbon bumper on it, but it's the way it is.
Still, it's something you don't want to be doing. You know, you want to be thinking about improving the car rather than repairing the car between the sessions. So we've got, well, if everything works to plan, we've got 2 hours to the next session, so that's going to go mighty quickly.
So look at the times then. Muller Lopez, Mikulits, Loeb, Mar, Tarquini. We've got the Hondas firmly mingled in with the Citroens at the top of the leaderboard, and that could be very entertaining. Pachito behind Ivan. Again, you've got Thiago Monteiro and Nestor Girolami, so 2 more Hondas. So we've got 4 Hondas and 4 Citroens in the top 8. Then Ugo Vallant in 9th, the best of the Chevrolets, ahead of Mehdi Benani. And, yeah, Rob Huff and the rest of the Lada guys struggling to find some pace here. And that's not something that we have said for a while, actually, so far this season. That could really do with them finding a little bit more speed out of those cars. The thing again, of course, is that, especially for the 2 younger guys or newer guys in the team, is it would be very easy to overextend yourself, feel full of confidence, and to stick it in a wall. Now, nobody so far has. We've had a couple go close to the wall, but nobody has actually stuck it in a wall. But, you know, for Nicky Katsberg and for Jaap van Lagen, if you stick your Lada in a wall in FP1, your weekend's kind of over. And suddenly your relationship with the team is right back down the Swanee, isn't it?
It was a good hit, wasn't it?
Yeah. Lifted the Chevy up, that's for sure.
Just shows you, I mean, Chilton wouldn't have been hanging around, but he's not on a committed lap, and you've got to be on your toes, because...
Well, and that's, we talked about, you know, being a gentleman in traffic, not holding somebody else up, but also making sure even when you are on your way back to the pits that you really have a weather eye on the mirror and you're aware of where everybody else is. And that's, you know, I mean, that's... Yeah, do not undo those straps. That's rule number one of being a racing driver, is awareness of your position on the track and those around you.
Yeah, it's a 360-degree environment you're working in, so...
Yeah.
And what's going on behind you and on your quarters is as important as what's coming up through the windshield.
That's the difference between driving fast around a track and being a racing driver, is that spatial awareness. It is so critical. Well, at the moment, as we said, Citroën with the fastest two cars. However, it does look as though Honda might be right in the mix. That short wheelbase on the Civic may well be helping them against the slightly longer, more stable
yeah, Michelin is upsetting the Citroën party at the minute. Good lad.
And then Huff van Lagen Katzberg in the Lada Vestas, splitting the Chevy, well, in fact, ahead of all the Chevy Cruisers, bar one. Well, let's hear from the fastest man in free practice, Ivan Muller. Alex Le Guy is with him down in the pit road.
Down here with Ivan, you are really attacking that track. When I spoke to you yesterday, you weren't so sure about the chicanes and the circuit. How do you feel now?
I'm still not sure about the chicane or all the rest, but we don't have choice, so we have to go for it. That's why I push.
What have you learnt out there?
We found a better balance than I had yesterday. And on the beginning of the session, end of the session, we were working a bit more for the quali, and then we'll see for the second session what we will do.
Your fastest lap just then, you didn't actually have a pink in any of the sectors. How is it then? What are you finding?
First, that means I can still improve, and that's the target. But I have to analyze this quietly, and we'll see for the qualifying and use that.
Great, thanks, man.
Well, he absolutely can improve. I mean, Matt, he was 7/10 down at the end of Sector 2 and then came in a tenth faster at the end of Sector 3. So Sector 3, he would appear to have fairly well taped. Sector 1 and 2 could do with a little bit more of a polish.
Yes, but it also means that the others have gone quicker than him and they've not been able to string their sectors together. He's just been the ultimate professional, and he's got the damage at the back. So they'll all be back there, and each engineer, we're looking at Sebastian's engineer, they'll all be scrutinising each other's data between the sessions. So they'll be on top of it now.
So we will be back on track with the second free practice session at midday or sometime after that. Depending on what else happens on track today. Join us for that. And then, of course, we'll go qualifying later on this afternoon here at Villarreal. Until then, from Matt Neal, Alex Le Guy and Ben Constanduros, and from me, Martin Haven, it's goodbye for now.